Let's talk about Ratt. There are some bands that are known for their incredible good looks and photogenic qualities. Not Ratt. There are some bands that are known for their lyrical brilliance and deep, insightful words. Not Ratt. And there are some bands that are known for their dynamic range of their lead vocalist. Not Ratt. But what is undeniable is the stamp that Ratt had on the Sunset Strip, the hard rock of the 80s, and the musicianship that the members of the band had. Yep, the boys could definitely play, and they were one of the hardest working groups on the scene. I got into Ratt late, in the early 90s when I was hunting for a new hard rock band to literally get into. I went to the local record store, remember those, and asked, hey, what was new? The person behind the counter pointed me in the direction of Ratt's Detonator, and from that moment the intro to Shame started. I was hooked. Now I know some would argue that Detonator wasn't the band's best album, but for me, it was my introduction. Very quickly I scored a cassette copy of their first self-titled EP, as well as their fourth album. There was a toughness to their sound, yet it was melodic as well, and the hooks were undeniable. So let's get our Ratt and roll on and head nose first into this episode of Should Have Been on the Album. Should have been on the album. Ratt's origins date back to 1973, where vocalist Stephen Percy founded Firedome, then Crystal Pistol, which then morphed into Mickey Ratt. But it was in 1981 that they dropped the Mickey and just turned into Ratt. The early incarnations of Ratt would have many lineup changes before settling on guitarist Warren DeMartini, Bobby Blotzer on drums, Juan Croucier on bass, who played on Dokken's first album, and Robin Crosby on guitars. Their move to Los Angeles established them as a key group in the Sunset Strip music scene, where they performed alongside bands such as Motley Crue and Quiet Riot. In 1983, they signed with Time Coast Music and released their self-titled EP. There are earlier recordings from that Mickey Ratt era that have surfaced over the years, as well as a single from 1980 with Dr. Rock and Driving on E. With the success of their EP, the band signed with Atlantic Records and achieved major success in 1984 with their first full-length album, Out of the Cellar, which included the best-selling single, Round and Round. The album achieved triple platinum status and helped define the band's signature sound, hard-driving riffs and catchy hooks, complemented by flashy guitar solos by lead guitarist Warren DeMartini. The band's appearance of leather, spandex clothing, and teased hair perfectly represented the glam metal look of that time period. Along with Round and Round, Out of the Cellar would spawn more singles, including Wanted Man and Lack of Communication. In 1985, Ratt released Invasion of Your Privacy, followed by Dancing Undercover in 1986, which established their lasting legacy in rock music. But the glam scene was changing with, dare I say it, prettier bands stepping up and claiming the spotlight. Reach for the Sky arrived in 1988, and although it still achieved platinum, the critics panned it. The band were experiencing waning mainstream popularity, so they brought in gun-for-hire Desmond Child to produce Detonator. However, it failed to reignite their star power. The band would call it quits in 1992, with Percy forming Arcade. However, in 1996, the five members began to talk about a reunion, but the classic lineup wouldn't emerge. Robbie Crane stepped into bass duties, with Kerry Kelly as a second guitarist, and with that lineup they released two albums, Collage and Ratt. But in January 2000, Percy left and so did Kelly. Then came two versions of Ratt, and the sad passing of guitarist Robin Crosby in 2002. However, the band would fight to continue with various lineups, culminating in the release of Infestation in 2010, which would even hit number 30 on the Billboard charts. Still, legal issues, infighting, and an ever-rotating list of band members have led to a long time of uncertainty for the band. The future for Ratt is anybody's guess, but for today we're going to head back to that epic first full-length release and look at a song that didn't make the cut. The song? Reach for the Sky. Now, a note before we get into this. We're talking about Reach for the Sky, the song here, not the album. Yeah, I admit it's a little confusing and a little tricky to research as well. Reach for the Sky was originally recorded during the sessions for Out of the Cellar, but was left off the final track listing. It only appeared on the recent 40th anniversary re-release of the album, either as the 11th track on the CD or as a separate vinyl 45. It was written by Percy and Crosby, along with Mark Torian. Torian was a guitarist with Ratt before they were signed, but would go on to become the lead vocalist for Bullet Boys. Lyrically, we're in very familiar Ratt territory. It's all about sex.
Reach for the skies, my guns in your back. Well, no wasting time, I'm ready to attack. Well, not like the knife you left to my back. Well, this time I'm on you in 2 seconds flat.
It's a little sinister for sure. And then the band introduces the almost stereotypical for the genre, law enforcer entendre.
Well, out in the corner, away from the bar. Well, this time I have you in. Well, that's the law. Heads I win. Well, tails you lose. Well, this time I'm on you. There's no one to choose.
The pre-chorus combines the two themes.
You're reaching, I'm pulling. Your hands on the trigger, you're ready to draw.
And then the chorus hits home the title of the song without any subtlety.
You raise, you reach for the sky. You rage, you reach for the sky.
Yeah, this is very typical Ratt fare, but you can't deny the musicianship behind it, along with Beau Hill's production. Musically, the song opens with a drum fill and an excellent twin guitar attack. It then locks into a cool groove thanks to Cruchier's bass and Blotz's drums. The sound reminds me a little bit of early Stryper, and perhaps that's not surprising because Ratt and Stryper were often crossing paths. Stephen Percy has said there was only a handful of bands, and believe it or not, it was Rock's Regime, who is now Stryper. It was Dante Fox, it was Great White, it was Wasp, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, and Ratt. Michael Sweet of Stryper confirms this, saying, I used to hang out with Stephen Percy when we were a house band with Ratt. They were Mickey Ratt briefly. We were playing shows with Ratt at Gazzari's and Jake E. Lee was in the band. So yeah, we go way back, and I actually bought one of Stephen's white Flying V guitars. The sonic palette is exactly the same as the rest of the Out of the Cellar album, while possibly not as melodic as tracks like Round and Round or Lack of Communication. There's a scorching guitar solo in the middle, and some excellent drum fills from Blotzer. Yep, it's a solid song from the band who are hungry and ready to make the big time. And it's a great addition to their back catalogue. This is Ratt in their prime, desperate to make their mark and ready to break out of the underground. Okay, so let's look at the album and see if Reach for the Sky should have had a spot. As usual, we keep the singles, Round and Round, Wanted Man, and Lack of Communication. You're in Trouble is brilliant with its heavy bass and rolling drums, combined with a killer chorus. In Your Direction starts off well, but the chorus just doesn't quite hit. She Wants Money sees the band put their foot on the accelerator and have a bit of fun, and the harmonies in the chorus are great. For me, the only dip in side one is In Your Direction. So let's check out side two. Lack of Communication is brilliant and is followed by a re-recording of Back for More from their EP. Back for More is a fantastic song which also expands on the sonic palette of the band, with a 12-string guitar in the mix. Next is The Morning After, and it's fine, saved by the excellent work by Bobby Blotzer on the kit and a scorching solo in the middle. I'm Insane is frenetic and energised, but still a bit meh and derivative. We finish with Scene of the Crime, a song with a more major and melodic feel. The Cellar is a solid release, without a doubt. So, which song would go? I guess for me it comes down to In Your Direction or I'm Insane. Both aren't as catchy or as memorable as the rest of the album, but it does beg the question, should Reach for the Sky replace either of them? Is it actually a better song? It's a fair question, and I guess the tricky part is that it's great to hear a new Ratt song from the classic lineup. Hell, it's great to hear any new Ratt song. But does Reach for the Sky stand against the singles and better songs on the album? Maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of love for the song online, with comments from @pet1914 with, well, what do you know? It sounds effing awesome, not surprised. And Rob Price 1369, killer song. Michael D26 says, you have no idea how much I needed this new old Ratt. This is fantastic Ratt and roll. But others can see the flip side, with Todd Duggan's guitar channel saying, wow, I can see how the team perhaps didn't think this song fit with the rest of Cellar. For me, I think I would have had it on the album in place of In Your Direction. The problem is that it's another similarly themed song to Wanted Man, and maybe that's why it was left off. Yet, The groove of the track is so addictive and would have easily found a place inside one. There are quite a few more Ratt songs that didn't make their albums, and you can find most of them online and in some releases from the Deadline record company. Some of the quality is not great, it's barely bootleg quality, but it does go to show that there's more in the vault from Ratt, and more songs than those offered on Collage. Anyway, what do you think of Reach for the Sky? Was it right to cut it from the final release, or should it have been on Out of the Cellar? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share and get the word out about this little channel. And welcome to all the new subscribers, the ones I haven't touched base since last year. It's great to have you along, and don't forget to watch after the credits for the blooper reel. Also, I want to say again, thank you so much for being patient. It was a while since my last video, my last official one of these anyway, and the support I've had for all of you out there has just been amazing. Thanks for the emails, thanks for the comments, and just reaching out. If you've had an idea for a B-side or a rare track you reckon I should check out, please let me know. You can obviously comment below or bounce me an email on shouldvebeenonthealbum@gmail.com. Plus, we're on all of the socials, or most of them. There's just new socials every single day, so we try and keep up. Links are in the description. But until next time, my name is Drew, and you've been watching Should Have Been on the Album. Cheers.
Sky, sky, reach for the sky. Reach.
And you can find most of them online and in releases from the Deadline recording company. Record company. But what is undeniable is the stamp that Ratt had on the Sunset Strip, the hard rock of the 80s, and the musicianships of the members of the band. So yeah, we go way back, and I actually bought one of Steven's flying, and I actually... So yeah, we go way back, and I actually bought one of Steven's... What? There are earlier recordings from that Mickey Ratt era that have... No. Try that again. It was a bit fumbly.